wanted to tell you that we've been here for over 40 years, and we're not leaving.
Not acceptable.
So that is what Walk the Talk is supposed to look like, right? It's not what it's supposed to sound like exactly, but it is what it's supposed to look like, and it was supposed to sound like that, only more so. But anyway, I'm John from LAPD. Henriette is running around trying to get a few people who are having trouble getting on to this webinar to join the group up here, which is LAPDers, the Walk the Talk honorees of this year, and Charles Porter, who's an honorary from a past year, and Rob Oxhorn, who designed the website that we're making public right now. So and Henry Apodaca is our media archivist, the technician here, and he's going to be flying this plane of the webinar. So later on, at the very end, there'll be an opportunity for people to ask questions. You should use the Q&A button at the bottom of or whatever it happens to be, and that way it'll go to Henry and everybody else, and people will be able to answer it. So right now, this is both a celebration of this year's Walk the Talk honorees, even though we can't do the parade, but it's also, when you got lemons, you can make lemonade. And in this case, Rob Oxhorn, since years ago, since we started the Skid Row History Museum and Archive, we've been collecting all the Walk the Talk interviews, performances, and videos of the interviews and everything else. And Rob has designed this archive that some of you might have seen at the Skid Row History Museum, but it hasn't been available anywhere but there. And now, as of today, it's going to be available anywhere where you can, on your phone or on your computer or on your tablet, anywhere in the galaxy. And so we're celebrating both and honoring both this year's honorees and the public availability of this website, so you can find out about anybody, including Charles Porter and all the past honorees going back to Robert Sundance in 1907. So and this of course is happening at a really weird moment, not only because of the pandemic, which is disproportionately affecting poor people and people of color worldwide, but especially also in this country, and the continued police violence directed at African Americans, which is being resisted again throughout the country. Walk the Talk is itself an act of resistance because it's a people's history of the Skid Row community's resistance in the voices of the people who have refused to be disappeared and displaced. Because, you know, ever since the 60s, there have been one effort after another to disappear Skid Row, get rid of the people that live there, replace them with more affluent and probably whiter people. And the only reason that hasn't happened is because of the concerted, intelligent, and passionate efforts of people living and working in Skid Row, who have also, you know, through their acts have created a community that's about solving the problems that the rest of America wants to like create but not deal with. And so Skid Row is a place of compassion and of visionary solutions to, you know, intractable problems. And that's the people who are being honored today, and the past honorees are the people who have come up with, you know, answers that are wanted and needed, not only in Skid Row, but in other places as well. So what we're going to do today was, in a minute, we're going to get a tour of the website from Rob, and then a few responses to the website from Gary Blasi and Charles Porter, who have already had a chance to look at it a little bit. And then we're going to introduce all of this year's honorees with their portraits and their bios, and then they're going to get to speak to the world as well. And then we're going to do, we're not doing all the performances today, you know, that we make from the honorees interviews because of the quality of the Zoom environment, but we've made the performances and they are also on the website. So not only are the transcripts, the interviews, the portraits of all previous, and the performances for all previous nominee years honorees on the website, but also this year's. So, but we are going to do an excerpt from the interview with Leslie Croom. And Leslie unfortunately passed away in 2019, but we're very pleased that her daughter Asia is here, and she's going to be talking as well. So, and then after all that, we'll get the one-line bios of the LAPD performers, and then we'll open it up for questions. So, I usually never say it, but LAPD is a performance group. It started out as a performance group, Los Angeles Poverty Department, for people who live and work in Skid Row. And from the beginning, it's been about creating community on Skid Row and getting the real deal out to Normalville, which simply means, you know, unmediated voice of the neighborhood, so to have an alternative to the voice that comes from far away from people who don't know better or should know better. So I think right now we're going to go to Rob Oxhorn, who's going to travel through the website with us, and then we'll hear from Gary and Charles Porter.
Yeah, thank you so much, John. I'll try not to take too much time, but try to show what show a little bit more than saying what this is. This is my name is Rob Oxhorn, and as John said, I've been working with LAPD for many years. Currently, I'm in the Bay Area, co-founder of a startup called Reduct.video, which is doing work related to archives like this. And so, yeah, without further ado, this is a website which starts with an introduction, a little bit of video of and then it kind of traces out the parades year by year, going back all the way to the beginning, to 2012. So you can see the routes that the parade took in downtown LA. You can see the portraits that were commissioned in this year by Mr. Brainwash. And you can go into recordings of any of the performances or interviews that took place in that year.
Alice Callahan.
Hey, people tend to think of Skid Row as primarily a homeless population. And if you think of Skid Row as a primary homeless population, there's one set of issues, one set of solutions. You build shelters, and if you do...
I don't know how well you can see, but maybe you notice that the words in the transcript are following along with the performances. So you can use the transcript to move around in the performance.
Those 65 hotels are here, and you cannot build them anywhere else.
We have, in addition to the performances, there are bios and a bigger view of the portrait. And then the interviews that were used for the source material are available as well.
What brought you to downtown Los Angeles, and when did you get there?
My big mouth. My big mouth brought me to downtown Los Angeles.
So it continues through the other years, 2014. Portraits by Brian Dick. 2016. 2018, and all the way to this year's parade, which is delayed until after the pandemic. And so for this year, you can see all of the performances as conducted on Zoom. Here's Coach Ron.
I am Coach Ron, the one and only. I'm 53 years old.
I came to the world famous Skid Row in 2008, going through the trauma of divorce.
Here's the interview with Coach Ron. And one of the most exciting things about this archive is that you can search through the whole thing at once. So you can look, for example, John was talking about Walk the Talk as a kind of voice of the people. So what does that mean in this context? You can search for Speak for People, and you get Pastor Q's performance, for example.
People don't need anyone to speak for them. They just need to amplify their voice.
Or Leeav Sofer.
I'm going to talk very frankly here. I've seen it affect people very negatively. I've seen people who had outside expectations while the organization didn't know how to prepare that person for what they were doing.
In addition to searching through the performances, you can also search through the interviews. You can find some of the same clips in the source material, and you can hear them differently. So here's Pastor Q again, but this time in the interview.
Thank you. Well, I think the key is with that. As a pastor, I know that. So I think we should never be afraid of hearing people. But that's easy for me to say because I'm a hip hopper. Right? So it's easy for me to say you should always hear people because that's what we were about. We were about amplifying our voices. And people don't need anyone to speak for them. They just need us to amplify their voice.
Other topics, search the interviews for affordable housing.
And it just amazes me that people don't say.
And likewise, the performances. So it's, and from the search results, of course, you can get back to the full performance if you want to see Lilianne's performance or get to her bio. So I'll wrap up the talk, the tour now. Encourage everyone to play with it. The link will be shared through all of the websites, but it's also online here at app.reduct.video/LAPD/walk-the-talk. And I look forward to the conversation and the performances later today.
Hey, thank you, Rob. So Gary Blasi has been looking at the archive a little bit. As I said, Charles had. Gary first is going to talk a little bit about it. And Gary, you know, has worked in Skid Row and in the interests of the neighborhood for many, many years, including something he just wrote this week, that just came out this week, called Impending Evictions and Homelessness in Los Angeles, based on projections about what's going to happen as a result of the COVID-19 if nothing else is done to avert a real disaster. But on a cheerier note, Gary is going to look at the archive, talk about the archive for a minute.
Thanks, John. I got a chance to look at the website and sort of delve into the interviews, and it really was amazing. But I was also asked to write something about my reaction to it. So I write probably more clearly than I speak, but I'm going to basically read what I wrote. When it comes to history and art, ordinary people, and especially poor people and people of color, rarely have anything to say about what gets remembered and what gets erased, or whether and how we share what that remembrance there is.
Oh, that is. Oh my goodness.
The Poverty Department, the Walk the Talk Project, and this website stand in direct opposition. Here are ordinary people, all of whom are extraordinary in some way, who have over 4 decades known and contributed something to a community in a place, Skid Row, Los Angeles, sharing what they know in their own voices, lifted up with the help of artists themselves extraordinary. The people and the history of these 50 square blocks have so much to teach those in the other 500 square miles of the city. If only they would look, listen, and not turn away.
Well, yeah, that is gorgeous. Thank you. So,
Very poetic.
Charles Porter.
Yes, just to echo, I had a chance to look at it, and for me, what's powerful, and John, you referenced Walk the Talk as being an act of resistance. I think it's important to control the narrative, you know, about Skid Row, because what we hear about Skid Row is not what we see celebrated in, you know, in the honorees and the movements linked to the honorees and the activism in the community. So a few things that I jotted down that I think stood out for me is just us being able to highlight the advocacy and the vision, the genius, the passion, and the resilience of the community. The other thing that is important to in doing like archival work like this is to it becomes something that's timeless, you know. So there are people that are no longer physically here with us that are here with us, you know, and so we can extend back in time and listen to how people will responding to issues we're still facing right now, you know, and we can learn lessons about what worked and what didn't work. So I think, you know, me, I've worked in Skid Row over 20 years, but there are things that happened that I forgot about. You know, that happened when we were talking about the drop-in center and linking it to the refresh spot. And I was like, wait a minute, like I never made the connection to the, you know, the response and what the needs that were trying to be addressed. And so I think in that regard is really a powerful tool, and it highlights the connection between art and history and activism. And I think definitely it is a powerful tribute to the Skid Row community, as well as as the honorees. Another thing I wanted to highlight is that, what did I write down here? Oh, that for each honoree, there are many unsung heroes, you know, that are part of the fabric of the community. So that's the other thing, that when you see these stories, the honorees tell you stories of movements, that they're connected to people, you know, they're connected to a neighborhood that cares, a neighborhood that wants, you know, to see improvement, a neighborhood that wants to thrive, you know, a neighborhood that is resistant. And that's something that we have to continue to highlight these stories and tell these stories, because the media portrayal is not, you know, what we know. People that are in the neighborhood is, last point I want to make, the example is, I think it was just a 10-year anniversary of the Festival for Skid Row Artists. And then there was LA Can Labor Day. I think they had a 20-year anniversary. And then this year was our 20th year anniversary of doing a Black History Month celebration. And so these are annual events, 10, 20 years, they get no media coverage, you know? And so that to me is an example of why we have to tell our own story and control the narrative. And I encourage folks to utilize this resource. The other thing that's really powerful is the keyword search. You can just type in words and it links you to, you know, who spoke about it and, you know, and what context. So those are my thoughts. Thanks for making it happen.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Gary. Yeah, I think, you know, I think there's so many solutions that have been, you know, successfully enacted in Skid Row over all these years, whether they still exist or not. Like, for example, there was a Skid Row Musicians Network. S.S. Jones was one of the honorees representing that group in 2012. That was a very successful program. It allowed people to have a place to store their instruments, to rehearse, and in exchange they did concerts for the community. You know, that was a fantastic solution. There's no reason why it shouldn't have been supported, endured, replicated all over the joint. You know, all kinds of stuff like that. But instead, all the solutions coming out of Skid Row, they're often ignored, or worse, you know, slammed down mainly because of people land use issues, I'd say, you know. And yeah. So anyway, thank you, Gary and Charles. I want to say for the next month, we're going to have. I mean, for the next year, once a month, we're going to have. I'm being distracted by a doorbell. We're asking a community organizer or a scholar or community member to do just what Gary and Charles did: spend some time with the archive and do a little slightly more elaborate response. It could be in writing, it could be in a video with working with Henry, or even pulling other materials in. One person said they're going to do a zine, but the first person to do it is Kathy Gudis, who can raise her hand? There she goes. She's the public history professor at UC Riverside, and she's the scholar in residence at the Skid Row History Museum, which is in front of now. As you see. So she's going to do the next one, and the clock is now ticking. So in a month, that'll be that out. So we want to keep that happening over the next year. And now we're going to have a drum roll, Henry. So now we're going to introduce the nominees with their portraits, and they'll get it. One of the LAPD is going to read their bio, and then they'll get a chance to talk. So first, Clarence Powell's going to take it away. Oh, I wanted to say the nominees are in order of the parade route, which is on the website, which we saw briefly. The parade route this year was pretty interesting because it started with Coach Ron at Gladys Park. Then it went up to the drop-in center for Leslie Croom. Then it went to to San Julian Park for Angelia Harper. And then it went to the center of the universe, 5th and San Pedro, where on one corner we have Stephanie Arnold Williams. Across the street in one direction, we have Leeav Sofer, and then kitty corner from that, we have Danny and Andrew. at the Skid Row People's Market. So that's not much of a parade. Fortunately, Gary Blasi insisted on going and make more trouble at the DPSS office at 4th place, where he's really persona non grata. And so that was going to get us our extra 1,000 steps, to get down there. But so anyway, that's the parade route. That's the order in which we'll be seeing the portraits right now. Clarence, take it away.
Coach Ron Crockett. Coach Ron played football and baseball for 14 years and has been a coach since 1994. He loves to teach and incentivize my people. A traumatic divorce brought him to Skid Row in 2008 from the San Gabriel Valley. Recognizing the vitality of the community, Ron quickly got involved with the Funky Trash Can campaign, working to provide trash cans that had been removed by the city. From 2008 through 2011, Coach Ron ran the Fun Zone Reading Club at the Huntington Hotel, teaching adults and kids how to read. In 2009, with OG and JoJo, he started the Skid Row Brigade with the assignment to clean up Skid Row. The brigade wanted the city of Los Angeles to understand that Skid Row streets can be clean and safe too. The city got the message. The brigade was given responsibility for cleaning the VOA drop-in center and later Gladys Park, where the brigade since 2011 serves meals Saturdays and Sundays. And in the park, Coach Ron is the announcer for the acclaimed Skid Row 3-on-3 Street Basketball League. Right now, the brigade is working with the city to monitor the port-o-potties and hand-washing stations deployed in Skid Row to ensure they are supplied and available to the community. Coach Ron, you got any words?
Well, the only words I got is that I just want to make sure that the community is infused with enthusiasm of hope, and make sure I'm a bridge for all our joyful donors and volunteers to continue to support our beloved homeless people.
All right, thank you very much, Coach Ron. Appreciate
it.
Okay, Tone, you're going to read Leslie Croom's bio?
Leslie Croom was a passionate and articulate Skid Row advocate, committed to promoting health, wellness, and recovery. Leslie and her husband got clean and sober in Skid Row. Starting in 2000, she worked for the VOA drop-in center on San Julian Street. Leslie met people where they were and let them know about services available at the drop-in center, including health realization, a group process that shared insights with what's now called trauma-informed therapy. While she loved one-on-one interactions, she was just as passionate about organizing people to identify and fight systemic wrong. She joined the staff of UCEP because they use resident organizing to achieve community-wide healthy outcomes. At UCEP, she got the LA Unified School District to provide resources to their 15,000 homeless students. Working with men recently released from state prison, she wrote Welcome Home, a report that identified systemic obstacles and the many changes needed to give these men a fighting chance for a positive future. Leslie advocated for increased funding for Skid Row parks and access for the entire community, from children to the elderly. Leslie passed away in 2019. As I said, Leslie passed away in 2019, and she's singing with the angels, but we have Asia here. Asia, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Okay, would you like to say something on behalf of Leslie?
I am honored, and it's a privilege to be here. However, there is nothing I could tell you that you don't already know, and nothing that I could say about my mother that would speak louder than something she wrote. So if you give me a minute, I'd like to read that for you. This was written probably a very long time ago when she was younger, but it does speak very much to how she felt about the community she served and the world she lived in. It's entitled The Second Spring. We have familiar experience of the order, the consistency, the perpetual revolution of the material world which surrounds us. Frail and transitory are its parts. Restless and migratory are its elements. Still, it abides. It is bound by a law of preeminence, and though it is ever dying, it is ever coming to life again. Dissolution does but give fresh mode to organization, and one death is the parent of 1,000 lives. Each hour as it comes but a testimony. How fleeting, yet how secure is the great hall. It is like an image on the waters, ever the same, though the waters ever flow. The sun sinks to rise again. The day is swallowed up in the gloom of the night to be born again in the dawn as though it had never been quenched. Spring passes into summer and through autumn into winter, only the more surely by its own ultimate return to triumph over that grave toward which it is resolutely hastened from its first hour. We mourn the blossom of May because we know there are to wither, but we know that one day May will have its revenge on November by the resolution of that solemn circle that never stops, which teaches us in our height of hope ever to be sober, in the depths of our dissolution never to despair.
Wow.
Wow.
Powerful. Thank you, Asia. John?
That was profound. Thank you, Asia. Thank you, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
So now, Tom is going to read Andrew Kang.
Andrew Kang is a native-born Angelino. As a child, his mother introduced him to Skid Row, where she is currently a member of the Rose Church Without Walls. Andrew was working in the artisan coffee business when Danny Park asked him to work together to create Skid Row Coffee, which they envisioned as a safe space with arts and cultural programming for the Skid Row neighborhood. Eventually, they were able to rent a space at the Central Library and start the Skid Row Coffee Cafe, which is run by Andrew and a crew of community folks. Danny took over his parents' corner store and renamed it the Skid Row People's Market, also run by a crew of community folks. They now employ 11 people. So, Andrew, I see your picture. So do you have anything you want to add?
Hey, Tom, and everybody, thank you so much for that wonderful synopsis. Yeah, well, I mean, first and foremost, I'd like to kind of contextualize, community folks that we work with and we are working in collaboration with include Jess Nazar, that I saw in the participants or in the spectator list. Kanaya, the daughter of Angela Harper, who I believe is next on the list. Jera, Sean, Patty, Will, previously Mark. I mean, there really are plenty of people, and I want to be specific about who are included, but I guess this is just entirely a humbling experience, and just want to share like one reflection that this was like, I guess a lot of my contemplations have been around place and me being an outsider to the Skid Row community and being embraced so openly by the Skid Row community over the last couple of years. I can truly say that, I feel in community and in the right place, even though times are constantly challenging what that means and like where place is. Yeah, I want to keep it brief. Thank you.
Right on.
No, Lee isn't here. You want
And
to
now,
read Lee? Yeah.
and now Danny, let's hear from the other half of the dynamic duo, or about them. Lee Mopin has been having trouble getting on, so he was going to read this bio, and okay, I guess I'll do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Danny Park is a Korean American who grew up in the Skid Row community, where his parents have owned the best market at the corner of 5th and San Pedro since 1992. After getting a degree in graphic design at Otis College and a job at Nike in Portland, Danny returned to LA and transformed his parents' store into the Skid Row People's Market. In addition, Danny, along with business partner Andrew Kang, started Skid Row Coffee and launched the Skid Row Coffee at the Central Library. Both the People's Market and the Skid Row Coffee prioritize hiring people from the community. They focus on creating local jobs, providing healthy food, and bringing the community together. They're engaged in many grassroots causes in the neighborhood. Danny.
Did I hear me?
Well, thank you. I just want to, many people have been saying, like, where you're just kind of following the footsteps of so many people that's been part of this. And yeah, it's really like what we're doing is just, there's so many people involved, and Andrew had mentioned some of them. Yeah, I'm gonna do the same. I have to, give a shout out and thank you to my parents, my mom, who's, been there for every day for 20 something years. Andrew's mom, Jess Nizar. We're surrounded by very powerful women and moms, and Big Mama and Kanaya, and like all of our employees or friends, volunteers, workers. And also I want to thank Pastor Q, Elisa Orduña, and Linda Lay, who's really, they've helped mentor, guide us, and continue to do so. And yeah, I guess that's it. Thank you very much. I'm enjoying being part of this. I'm like finding myself smiling too a lot, which is, feel like I haven't been lately with all this stuff that's going on. And yeah, I guess I think of the something that Grace Lee Boggs said in relation to this being a work of resistance. And I'm just, sitting here and feeling what we feel, and the helicopters outside. Everything that we're doing here reminds me of Grace Lee Boggs' quote: "A revolution that is based on the people exercising their creativity in the midst of devastation is one of the greatest historical contributions of humankind." So I'll just end with that. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Danny. Hey, Stephanie Bell, are you there? Stephanie Bell? Can you read Angelia?
Hi, you guys.
Hey, Stephanie.
Can't see y'all. Y'all can't see me in my beautiful outfit. But anyway.
Tell us about it. Tell us about your outfit.
Oh, it's the tiger print one, and I have the scarf to match.
Oh.
The leopard, darling.
Right,
I'm hating this. I can't see you guys.
I know.
Okay, anyway, I'm Angela Harper, known as, in Skid Row as Big Mama, was known as Danielle Turbert on the cabaret circuit in 1980s and 90s, singing jazz, blues, and R&B, and doing comedy. She was born in a big Southern family, learned about sustainability at her grandmother's farm in Mississippi. She learned how to cook at her father's restaurant, Marie's, in Chicago. From Chicago, she came to Skid Row after a fight with her ex-husband led to a charge being filed against her. She stayed at a Skid Row mission, but left after a week and settled in San Pedro, where she started a catering business. Later, she went through domestic violence training, therapy, and found peace over violence. She realized that her own happiness necessity serving others, that many people on Skid Row didn't get the detailed help, education, or social service agencies that they needed to improve their situation and keep it that way. Big Mama works with people one-on-one to navigate bureaucratic system to get them what they are entitled to and deserve. She's a fighter against injustice, and she started Love is the Key, providing foot care, home cooking meals to the Skid Row residents. She helps people in the community have a better quality of life. And now, Big Mama, girl, you got something to say for this 2020? Walk the talk. Give it up.
She's still muted.
I got it.
Oh,
Hi, everyone.
I didn't know
Hey,
that. There she is. What's up?
What's up?
Ooh, you know what? I didn't know y'all was gonna go back that far. Some of them things ain't nobody did. Okay. But as far as me in this community, give me that stuff out that bag tonight. I'm only giving back what was lovingly given to me, the orange one. And I'm continuing to do so, but it's not just as in Skid Row, one of them packets down in here. In Skid Row, but I've been doing this summer everywhere. I've always been active in something or another due to the family that I come from. So that's how that goes. Still now, I'm still doing things like, now I'm doing it. Hygiene for women. I have some stuff for men. And I'm going to see if I can start partnershiping with Q since I've been told I'm on lockdown. I'm not supposed to come down on Skid Row for no reasons whatsoever. But some people know I'm going to make it way down eventually. Thank you for that presentation, my dear friend. Hey, yo. Thank you, Los Angeles Poverty Department. And I can't wait to catch the people that nominated me. Because like I really wanted this, right?
There'll be a lot of kissing.
Like being a radar. Anyway, thank you and congratulations to all the other participants and nominees. Okay. And my daughter is up to something.
Yeah, can I have?
They want you to speak.
Hi.
Hey, Kanaya.
Hey, Andrew. Hey, Danny. Hey, Charles.
Hi, Kanaya. Hi, Mama.
Lorraine.
Hello. Hey, Lorraine.
Hey,
Beautiful as always.
Stephanie.
Hey, Stephanie.
All right.
And everybody else. Hello. How are you all?
Hey, Tom. They waving.
Hi,
Asia, I haven't seen you since you were 15 years old.
Oh.
What you saying? Shh, don't let nobody know. Okay.
Like, yes, I know how old I am.
Since she was a baby.
They're trying that. Okay, you just 18.
Only 18.
It's a blessing that I get to see all of you all.
Oh, hi, Jess.
Oh, God. You
And
got the whole
Mack.
house.
You can't see everybody, Kanaya. It's like 64
Okay, and they
people.
steady going, hey, Kanaya. Okay. Dad, me and you got to have a conversation. Because you getting the kind of, people are saying you my stalker. That's not good. That's not good, Daddy.
Just an admirer.
That's not good, Daddy.
Okay, thank you so much, Angelia.
Yes, and thank you all, and everybody tap into me.
Yes.
Okay, and now we have made it to the corner of 5th and San Pedro because we're at the White House, and Henriette is going to read the bio of Stephanie Arnold Williams.
Yeah. But before, okay. So Miss Stephanie Arnold Williams is a dynamic presence on Skid Row. Stephanie has for 7 years lived and provided services to the community operating from the Skid Row White Tent Service Center, aka the White House. Her large solar-powered tent on the southwest corner on 5th and San Pedro Street. Stephanie has initiated innumerable, oh, that's the wrong picture there, Dan. Yeah. Has enumerated innumerable creative responses to the needs of her neighbors and Skid Row at large. Her surprising initiatives have opened possibilities and frustrated enforcers of the status quo. Stephanie has turned the state of being houseless upside down. She has transformed her tent into a place, a palace rather, and the service center, in spite of police harassment and having to move it off the streets every other week. With her solar panels, she provides a free cell phone charging station and powers her sewing machine to make masks and repair people's clothes. And I just saw bags as well, free of charge. She provides a library and an information center and gives away tents and food, and she provided air mattresses for the women in front of the downtown women's center. She opens her tent, her house, her heart, to everyone who needs a place to sit and rest, and a drink of water or tea. Anything she can do, she will do. And let's say welcome to Stephanie. I'm glad you're zooming in.
Thank you. That was so great. Thank you. Los Angeles Poverty Department. Thanks everybody. Thank everybody that nominated me. I'm touched. I'm honored. Oh wow. This is a great day for me.
Can
you still hear me?
Yes, we
Okay,
can.
yeah.
We want to hear from you.
Yeah, I hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, here goes.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, here we go.
No,
the
no.
VOA.
Oh,
drop in.
Stephanie, wait. We want to hear from the other Stephanie.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go. I'm sorry, Miss. Oh, I'm so sorry. We got two Stephanies here.
We have two.
Hey, Miss Lynn. Hey, Miss Stephanie. Hi. Hi, everybody. Hi. Hi, people all over the world. My family in Indianapolis, Indiana, that I haven't seen in over 7 years. Wow. I took a stand 7 years ago to be a freedom fighter for the homeless. I'm a surviving victim of police brutality. They broke my leg in 2013 and I wasn't able to walk. And I've been in a wheelchair for over 5 years. I'm just starting to walk again. I'm starting to skate again. I'm able to get around again. So I'm just blessed to be honored to be in this nomination today and tell my story. But I love my life here. I love my life in my tent. I love just being outside sewing for the community. I do free sewing every day. I've been making masks. I've been swamped doing masks. Sorry for everybody that I'm far behind in your masks, but I'm getting closer to it. Thank you, Terry. I see your comment.
Yeah. That's right.
I'm speechless. You said about everything. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but you do everything, Stephanie. We are so grateful.
I do it all.
With us. Yes.
You can check out our interview on the performance on the website.
Yeah.
It says it all.
Yeah, if you go to the website that Rob made, you can see the whole performance he created about you.
And your entire interview.
And
video
I want my T-shirt. This says the Skid Row Steppers.
Steppers.
That's great.
Yeah.
And because I'm here, I'm the founder of the Skid Row Steppers.
Yes.
And we're stepping for change.
Yes.
And somehow I just lost you.
No, we're here. We have you.
Can you still see me? Because I don't know what happened.
We can see you.
Okay, there we are.
And we can hear you. Yeah.
And I'm here fighting against police brutality, police terror, and police killing. And that's what the Skid Row Steppers is all about.
Yes.
If we didn't protest, we didn't cry, and we did everything that we can do. Now we're gonna dance. You know, even if it's a dance like this and a kick to the butt. but I'm here, and I'm not leaving until justice is done. I am tired of these police officers killing our families, our loved ones, and even our dogs. You know, they just killed another guy the other day, George, what's his name, Floyd?
Yeah.
They put his knee in his neck and killed him.
Yeah.
You know, they almost killed me. I was at home in Indianapolis at my son's apartment when the cops bust in saying my son put a naked picture on Facebook and said they were going to kill the mother of the rapist. My son's not a rapist, but they said they were going to beat me, and they put me down like Rodney King, and then broke my leg. And that's how I ended up on Skid Row. And once I came to Skid Row, I saw it was a beautiful place. It's not as bad as they say it is. It's not even close to being bad. Skid Row is a great place. I just want everybody to know that it's a great place to live. I love living here. I love waking up every day outside and not indoors. I love the oxygen. I just love everything about Skid Row. I'm never leaving. I'm going to be that little old lady at the corner of 5th and San Pedro, sewing for the community, and I'm not leaving.
All right.
Until justice is done. I'm the last one to leave.
Oh,
We love you, Stephanie. We love you. Stay strong.
I love you guys. Mwah. Thank you so much.
Okay, I just want, before we go to the next one, I just want to say that I'm very sad that we haven't been able to get Lee and Matt to join this webinar. Something went wrong online, and Lee has just given up, and Matt is still trying. But me,
I'm on the phone.
Matt, thank you. You're there. Can you name it,
Yes.
Henry, so I can see where they are? And so, yeah, so Lee gives you all his love. He's about to throw his tablet out of the window. I said, don't do it. Don't do it, Lee.
Right.
But, he's with us in spirits. It's a shame you don't get to meet him, the people that don't know Lee. But yeah, hopefully next time.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, so now we go to...
you guys are great.
Oh, it's a terrible thing that Lee can't be here. But nevertheless, we're going to the next gallery. We're going to move from the White House, the corner of San Pedro. We're going to cross San Pedro Street in eastern direction to the Wesley Health Clinic, where Leeav Sofer is in charge there of the Urban Voices Project. And we have made a beautiful picture, portrait for Leeav. And Byron is going to read his bio for you.
Leeav Sofer, he's our inspirational, creative, imaginative, and very loving musical director. With his heart and soul 7 years ago in 2013, Leeav co-founded the Urban Voices Project Community Choir. With a community health worker in 2016, Honorable Walk the Talk honoree Christopher Mack. Now, Skid Row's Wesley Health Clinic was the initial sponsor of the project. And Leeav, he's a professional musician, and he was teaching music at the Colburn School on Bunker Hill, simultaneously fronting his klezmer band, Mostly Kosher. Leeav grew up in a very white neighborhood. It was Orange County, with a very musical family. His mother is a beautiful cantor, and he's been deeply engaged in making music his entire life, and still does today and will until he dies. Because Urban Voices Project is a nonprofit organization with a number of programs. It has a weekly community sing open to the entire Skid Row project throughout all of Southern California, and a family wellness music program that takes place at many different communities in Los Angeles. Now, according to many of us UVP members, including myself, Leeav wonderfully teaches us to listen louder than we sing. So now I invite my inspiration, Leeav Sofer, to talk, and I'll listen, as all of us will listen to his wisdom and his love, because he has so much to give. Take it away, Leeav.
Wow. Thank you, Iron. That was really beautiful, and I have goosebumps. And it's funny because as every speaker gets to go, I have more time to think about what I'm going to say, and then I get here and I'm like, meh. So I will say this, that it's funny how you mentioned that, like the teacher thing. I know I could teach music, but I have been taught by so much more, by so many of you guys right here in this screen. And almost every single person in here that I've met everyone that I've met, I mean, like, has been a teacher to me in humanity. And I think that's something that I did not know how to come into Skid Row to teach. That's what Skid Row taught me. It was taught to me by Christopher Mack. It was taught to me by people of here that I've literally thought of as mentors, like John and Henriette and Hike and Charles and all the leaders of the organizations around LA that's here right now. Stephanie, you've been a mentor to me in the white tent. And I just feel like I've been really, I couldn't actually even believe I'm gonna be someone that got honored in the same lineup as these people who I consider my teachers in humanity and in understanding Skid Row and the dynamics of our fight for a voice. And then I'm taught by my members of my own program, because like, if you guys came to one of our classes, like in workshops, what we do is we just do a lot of like singing, but also like songwriting, like live songwriting experiences. And so they come in and they feed us, and I'm gonna just say, be selfish, they feed me their intentions of the day, their intentions of the week, and their intentions they've had of their whole lives. And then we put it into song, and all of a sudden I'm once again taught by the people that are coming in. I can hand them a little bit of music, but they're the ones that teach my soul. And one of the songs that's become, in my opinion, an anthem of Skid Row is words that came from them. It was, I've got the patience to inhale, exhale. I've got the energy to sing. I've got the strength to keep on going so I can rise again and rise again. And another song that came out of Urban Voices that was just the most simplest thing in the world was just, come on, sing. Something that we debuted, actually, a song we debuted at the Skid Row Artist Festival. And it involved everybody's voice. And so I guess I'll finish by just saying, you know, I love that you incorporated the thing I've learned from my tutors, music tutors, the listen louder than you sing. But I also have to say that in light of everything that's going on this week and for years, I'm gonna say that it's time for everyone else to listen to the voice of Skid Row and to the voice of the oppressed. And I think listen louder than you sing is no longer, in that context, is not my instruction. Instead, just sing as loud as you possibly can. And don't let anybody make that voice shrink. Fortissimo, as they say in music. And I just want to say a quick thank you again to Chris and my partners, Kate and Nicole, who helped run the program with me, and all of you UV peers here, like Tom and Marilyn and Iron and Danny. You've been a mentor to me. I just have to acknowledge you all. And you know, John and Henriette, thank you so much, really, for involving me and helping facilitate this honor for myself and all the other honorees today.
Yeah. Okay, so now everybody get on your hiking shoes. Stephanie, get on your skates, because we're going all the way down to DPSS office on 4th place. So, Matt, actually the route has worked out really well, because Stephanie Bell got on before Stephanie Williams, and now Matt got on before he's going to read Gary Blasi. So I think things are really doing really basically well.
Hey, here we go. Outstanding public interest lawyer Gary Blasi developed some of the first successful eviction defenses for low-income tenants in the 1970s and co-founded the Legal Aid Foundation's Eviction Defense Center in 1983. His work with the EDC brought him to Skid Row, where he got settlements for residential hotel tenants who were being displaced by CRA purchases of for-profit hotels to nonprofits. In 1985, he started Legal Aid's homeless unit and convened public interest lawyers from throughout the city to form the Homeless Litigation Team. The Homeless Litigation Team cases curbed abuses in the welfare system, making it less punitive and more accessible while raising the welfare benefit, until state law was changed, making future increases impossible. Blasi says he spent the first half of his legal services career fighting to get people out of slum housing, and the second half trying to get them in. In 1991, Blasi joined the UCLA Law School faculty, where he has served as the director of the UCLA Institute for Research on Labor and Employment. While at UCLA, he continued to engage with Skid Row, doing important work on the Jones case and documenting the criminalizing effects of the Safer Cities initiative. Congratulations, Mr. Blasi. I'd like to hand the floor over to you.
Well, I have to say, I am just honored to be on this list of people, extraordinary people, like I said before. And I want to especially thank Henriette and John for having kept LAPD going all these years. John was a paralegal working with the homeless litigation team that we just referred to, and actually, I think at least 3 members of the homeless litigation team are on the audience. And I just was going through an old LA Times thing for some research I'm doing, and I came across a picture of all of us looking much younger and thinner. That really brought back some memories. The other thing is that it's really easy to get discouraged if you look at the big picture. The big picture is discouraging. I spent the last month trying to figure out how many evictions are coming and how many more people are going to lose their housing, and then all the events that have been happening this week. And that, you know, there's nothing new except a 17-year-old had a video camera and captured that. But we have come a long ways in some ways, but the Civil War never really got settled, I'm afraid. So on the big front, it's pretty discouraging sometimes. But when you start talking about individual people and communities and neighborhoods, even neighborhoods, and I won't say even neighborhoods, but especially neighborhoods like Skid Row, where people have come together because they have something to defend. And there's so much love and connection among people in Skid Row that frankly I don't see in other neighborhoods that I'm in. So I've always thought in some ways, despite all the troubles, Skid Row was a real blessing and a source of inspiration to people across the city if, as I say, the people would pay attention. And increasingly they are, and it's so great to see young artists especially and folks engaging with people in Skid Row and helping learn and teach from that experience. So thank you again, and I love the portrait. It's going to be my new Facebook portrait, I think.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Gary. Actually, yeah, it's true. When I was working for Gary, he let me do on legal aid time, do a workshop at LAMP. LAMP was just starting at that moment. It was the first, the day center for, it was just a day center on San Julian. It started at that moment. He let me sneak off and do a workshop at LAMP during legal aid time, which was really good for legal aid and also good for LAPD. A lot of the Lampers were the original crew of LAPD. So so now, when we started thinking about this, doing this project in 2012, about making performances about all these people, very quickly we thought like, well, we better not be making up a lot of stupid stuff. We better have long interviews with everybody instead and try and boil down what they got to say, and so as to decrease the amount of egregious error that we could make on our own. And so so now with Rob's website, what's really fantastic about that is you can hear all the folks in the archive talk for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, and you can see them do that. You can read the transcript, and again, you can associate that with any other wisdom that's in the archive. So, but eventually, those hours or 2 hours or 3 hours get boiled down to 15 minutes, something that we do on the street in front of wherever we are, and and usually, we work on those things in rehearsal. There's usually a lot of interplay between distilling outside, bringing it into rehearsal, and then boiling it down some more until we get it more or less right. And all of the performances this year, like Henriette took it upon herself to make directed edit Zoom performances of all the honorees, which are on the website. We're not showing them here because, like I said, the deficiencies of Zoom, if you try to show it, it just doesn't happen. But they are on the website, and you can see them when you go there. And God willing, we'll also do them another version live later on in a year or whatever. But we are going to try to attempt to do a little bit of one, which is Leslie Croom. And again, we have a few deficiencies. Stephanie, are you here with us? Stephanie Bell?
Yeah, she's muted.
Okay, I think we're
I have to say one thing. Yeah.
Okay,
I'm here.
Most of the cast are here, and in in typical LAPD fashion, whoever isn't here, someone will jump in and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to talk about, because Lee isn't here. And as we know, LAPD, Lee is going to do OG. So I wanted to ask Iron if you can read OG. Do you have the script with you? Yeah, great. So Iron will do OG.
Will do.
Yes, and then Matt, can you do the kid number 2? No, kid number 1, because Iron is kid number 2.
Correct.
And Matt is going to be kid number 1. And I think that should get it covered. Okay. Stephanie, when you're ready,
all right.
Take it away.
The VOA Drop-In Center, St. Julian, was started around 2000, and I was hired not too long after it opened.
I had got clean and sober in this community, so I was connected to a lot of help realization. Looking at different approach, recovery began at the 12-step model, because recovery is a complex process. Health realization was looking at how people can change in their consciousness and their interaction with the community. And that's important. It's not always about personal responsibility. You know what I'm saying? What about the condition? I mean, there's a lot of responsibility to go around.
I was working with Leslie at the Volunteers of America, and it was fast and furious. The VOA Drop-In Center was designed for 800 guests, and from day one, it was just saturated with community members. Demand was off the charts.
There were a lot of people sleeping on the street, and one of the ways to address was creating the drop-in center. You didn't have to be clean, you didn't have to be sober. It had a big courtyard and you could just walk in. It's create a safe space. People who live on the street had a safe place to go and access resources.
Oh my God, they had laundry services and bathrooms.
And they had cots. You just wanted to sleep during the day.
Just to sleep or sober up.
Everybody at the drop-in center had stories, lots of stories. And I love talking to people. We traded stories and we were making friends.
Leslie had a huge impact on the whole community.
I was pretty much known to everyone at the drop-in center. That's how I knew Kevin, Michael, OJ, Michael Blair, you name it.
My name is Kevin Michael Key. I'm from New York City, and Leslie is too. She grew up living in New York. That's one big connection I got with her. Leslie was an awesome community organizer. Leslie was a mover and a shaker. I'm not lying, I was in love with Leslie. Everybody was in love with Leslie.
That's right, Kevin. I'm OG, Manuel Capito, and I was in love with Leslie too. I mean, when Leslie wouldn't respond to my advances, I would go by the drop-in center every morning and say, "She made me relapse." I mean, it was funny. It was like, she was like,
Yeah, OG.
"Oh, that voice, it's her. She made me relapse." Oh, God.
At the drop-in center, we have a huge amount of food traffic.
It was so busy. I mean, it was busy. You know, just like the refresh spot is right now. Busy.
Because we had resources you couldn't get anywhere else and the connection to the things that people needed.
At the drop-in center, we had access to recovery group meetings. We did a lot of group sessions. I was doing a lot of work to create a safe space where people felt comfortable talking about what the issues was and to focus on the wellness of recovery.
But because of the traffic, they started to put restrictions on when you could go in there. Originally, anybody could just walk in, go to the desk and check in. But after a while, there was a lot of security and a screening process.
I started working with Yusef in 2001. Yusef was doing street cleanups on St. Julian. I was down with that, so I helped Charles Porter organize some of their first street cleanups. And I helped Charles connect with the other programs and people into the OG, Kevin Michael and Michael Rice.
That's right. Leslie liked the work we were doing, looking at communities, not just direct one-on-one service, but really seeing about system change and how community organizing and engagement.
USEP, United Coalition East Prevention Project, is a community-based drug prevention program. Our focus is looking at community and environmental factors that contribute to what they call now substance and disorder. We don't just look at alcohol and other drug problems as individual problems. We look at the role the neighborhood conditions play in fueling addiction. And we engage community members to identify what the risks are, and then we work them collectively to target those risk factors and to enhance the positive things that are happening.
Yeah, that's right. How can we impact the community? And how can we hold the city accountable? And how can we expand our resources?
When I started working at USEP in the early 2001, the fastest growing population here in Skid Row was women and children. We had a couple of major hotels that housed a lot of kids, including the Ford Hotel, a block from our office. Kids started coming to the office, and there was greatest organizers because each kid brought more kids and more kids. We end up creating an after-school youth program with art therapy.
I remember one of the young kids from the fort. He was at the office really early, and we like,
What are you doing here? Shouldn't you be in school?
We went to Garvin Elementary School, and he's like,
Matt. Is Matt here?
I got sent home because my clothes are too dirty.
Selena and I thought, okay, he's lying. He's lying because he just wants to be here.
And the lad said, so Leslie and I took him in the car. And we took him back to Carver Elementary. And we spoke to the administrator. And he said,
we can't have him come into the school because he smells really bad.
What? And he was really soiled? And we were like, is this real?
I just was outraged. I said to Sienna, that's bullshit. And I wasn't going to let it go. And I didn't. I developed a whole campaign to shape up LA school district. School district.
That's right. And we discovered that there were 15,000 homeless kids, students, within the LAUSD school district. But the school district didn't have any homeless liaisons to help the kids. And we had other kids coming to us from other schools, and they were saying,
I failed PE because I don't have the money to buy the PE clothes.
So we would document these incidents. This is not happening. But it was.
So Coro and I organized a group of families from the missions. We got a bus and all the documentations, and we went to the LAUSD board meeting.
We had to wait for 6 hours before we could speak. When we finally got an opportunity to talk, I leaned over to her and I said, Leslie, please today, just do some poker face, okay? Okay. To get them to listen. She shook me, smiled and whispered, that's bullshit. Then she really let me have it.
These families lived in the mission. The children had to leave each day at 5:30 a.m. And now we've been waiting for hours to speak. Shame on you. Shame on you. How dare you, and how dare you. We should be rewarding these young people who have somehow getting to school instead of putting all of these obstacles. This is outrageous.
Parent after parent talked about how their child wasn't being successful in school because...
Well, my daughter doesn't have a backpack.
No uniforms.
No tokens to get to school.
I mean, all these things that come so easily to some families, our kids don't have it.
And so after our advocacy and many meetings, the school board passed the assets for resolution. We end up getting Los Angeles School District to establish a homeless unit to provide backpacks, tokens for the students and the parents, and resources including counseling for the students in order for them to succeed in school.
Number one, we did it. Number two, and this program. And number three,
Still six. I'm passionate about education because I'm passionate.
That's it.
That's where we
That's where we're going to stop.
Yeah, that's where we're going.
Okay, so, well, yeah, that was basically that was a teaser, and I hope it does tease people to go to the website and check out what's really going on. Where all the performances are, they're high quality edited Zoom performances. So anyway, now we're going to open up everything for questions and what? Oh, we want to do the one-line bios of everybody who is the LAPDers. Everybody who is here, one-line bios. Starting with Clarence.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Clarence Powell, and I continue to endure my journey on the outermost fringes of life and the entertainment industry.
And I'm Lorraine Moreland. Positive thinking faithfully brings good to you. Always remember that.
I'm Alpaid. The future lies ahead, and I hope we can leave the lies behind in 2020.
And hi, I'm Stephanie, and I'm Stephanie Bell. Sometimes I want to snap, but I stop. I'm going to keep on smiling regardless, because my smile goes a long way. So smile with me.
I'm Tom Grody, and I was really looking forward to Walk the Talk 2020, the parade. I knew some really cool creative things were going to happen. But that doesn't mean I'm complaining about Zumba talk.
Hey, Matt, are you there? Matt Mihara?
Yes, my name is Matt Mihara, and I came to Skid Row in 2013, and I'd like to thank the Weingart Center, Los Angeles Community Action Network, the People's Concern at Studio 526, and now Los Angeles Poverty Department for helping me get a pad and enabling me to make art.
My name is Thaddeus Nagy. I just graduated with an MA in Theater Arts. And I was wondering if anyone knows what it's like to eat a clock. Well, it's very time consuming.
I'm Anthony Tone Taylor, member of the Los Angeles Poverty Department, and there's a bright side to everything in life.
Actor, artist, singer, motivator, poet, dancer. I'm Iron Angel. I'm a romancer with a fascination for creative imagination. I use my heart, voice, lyrics, words, and art to inspire those who are lost in the homeless creativity with a desire to restore their dignity, and those who love them, humanity. For it's our destiny to end the empty loneliness inside the darkness of homelessness.
And that was Iron's one-line bio.
Yes, it just goes.
Leila, what do you want to say, Leila?
Okay, I'm Leila, and this is my first year participating in the Walk and Talk. I belong to the LAPD group that works in pro to the homeless community in the Skid Row. I'm so proud of them, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Leila. And so, Al, I am Harriet Brouwers, and I would say zoom in to Skid Row and see how compassion is reinvented every day when the system fails the people. Do it yourself. Try it. And then I will say for Lee, because Lee isn't here and I'm so sad about that. He says, I'm the godfather of soul, the Skid Row edition. You come all out and see me next time. And he says, I love you all.
Much love, everybody. Much love.
So we still got 49 participants and hanging on. Maybe they're hanging on because they want to ask a question. If so, go put it into your Q&A, and then Henry is going to read it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Waiting for some questions to come in. We got one question from Studio RD Solutions. And this was a question that came in a little while ago. It says, or it asks, is the URL for the Walk the Talk website app.reduct.video/LAPD/walk the talk/pound/y/2020, and that's the question mark? Or is there a simpler URL available? Thank you.
We're going to ask Rob. Rob is now here to
in the house.
answer to that question. But he's muted.
He's
so
muted.
He's got to be unmuted.
Yeah, I suppose the link should go up on the Facebook event and on the LAPD website. But I'll paste a link to in the chat to all panelists and attendees. For easier access.
Here's another question.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Appreciate it. Question from Leeav Sofer. What is your process in commissioning the artist regarding the awesome portraits?
The first time we did it, we sort of thought we wanted to be something that was sort of graffiti-like, and we looked at a lot of different artists working in the field, and we found Mr. Brainwash, and he was down with doing it. And then subsequently, we've just people that we that we either knew and liked their work, or like last time Crushaw Herring, did the portraits in 2018, and he recommended Man One, and then we saw Man One's work and we really liked it, and so yeah, so it's been sort of an informal, Leeav, if you want to recommend somebody, you can do that, or anybody can. Terry is writing, I think Terry Hunter's writing in the chat a question.
Let's take a look.
Yeah.
He says, people in Vancouver are interesting in watching, but couldn't attend. Has it been recorded? Is there a way to watch it later? What's the
Yes.
word?
Yes, absolutely. We've recorded this event directly to my computer as I'm operating as host, as well as it was streamed live on Facebook. So if you're looking for a copy of it or just to view, you can go to the event page for Walk the Talk 2020 online celebration and website launch, or we can also be in contact with Henriette, who can get that link or digital video from me to you. Okay, if Q&A is still open, if anyone wants to ask any additional questions, you can click on the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Okay, we have another question from Leeav Sofer. What's the next project you guys are preparing for?
Yeah, we're preparing for a couple projects. You know, we're obviously there's the festival coming in October, and we're figuring out how to do that. And then we were working on before we started working on Walk the Talk, we were working on a project called Compassion and Self-Deception, which was really about NIMBYism, about how voters in Los Angeles could vote all this money for housing, creating housing, and then didn't want any of it near them. So we're going back to that project, which involves, you know, Robbie Herbst, an exhibition by Robbie Herbst, and also a publication, a map to compassionate and not so compassionate sites of LA by Robbie Herbst. And we're figuring out we're going to go back to that project. And again, in this environment, going back to it means figuring out how you're going to realize it and where. So plenty of work to do, as I'm sure you know.
And then we also have now online Zoom open mics with the Zamia Theater in Minneapolis. Although they are going, as you can imagine, through a very difficult time right now. We are going to have one on Thursday, but I'm still talking to them if, you know, they can actually participate with all the stuff they're going through. So we'll announce it on Facebook for sure. Yeah.
Well, I think if there are no further questions, we want to thank everybody who's
Ron.
Oh wait, Coach Ron.
Coach Ron came in. 100% amen to that, brother. And is there space to joyfully donate to a world famous Skid Row artist or art project?
What does that mean?
Well,
where does one donate
Yeah.
to a Skid Row artist or art project?
Yeah.
I would say isn't there I don't know. There's a Skid Row Arts Alliance, for example, that has a website.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We are still, Clancy is spearheading a campaign on our Facebook page and on Facebook to get, as you have noticed, many of our own Skid Row artists, LAPDers, have terrible internet connections or devices, and that's why they couldn't get in. So we are still raising money to get internet service to everybody in the community, and create hotspots and get people better devices. And there is a Facebook campaign going for that. So if you want to help us out, we would be very happy. And we can do even a better Zoom next time.
Yes, indeed. We have one question for Leeav. This is coming from Margaret Holub. Margaret asks, is the Urban Voices Project singing recorded any place or anywhere?
Thanks for the question. So I'll just tell you all right now, we got really excited because even amidst COVID-19, we've been moving our programs virtual. We have our workshops virtual. If you'd like to check them out, you can go to artstvguide.com where you'll find all of the arts programs. But and that's open to the public too if you want to join. I was going to also add a special announcement that we're working on like a benefit concert with a cool guy. I don't know if you guys have heard of Vereen, but he's reached out to, he's reached out to us, him on the East Coast, for us to be his virtual backup choir. So we're all learning how to do that virtual choir thing where we have to pre-record and our boxes are going to be all over the screen. And we're actually in the midst of getting that prepared right now. And that's for something on June 18th, I think. So you could go to our Facebook page for that. And then we'll have our own concert on June 28th at 5 o'clock. And you'll see Tom there, you'll see Iron there, you'll see a lot of people you already know. And I hope you're all invited. Please come and join us. And we're just praying for the day where singers aren't dubbed as super spreaders of the virus anymore. But we're not gonna go away. We'll stay active as much as we can.
Okay, we have another question. Actually, we have a comment, then a question. Comments coming from an anonymous attendee. It says, this day has been very negative and hectic for a lot of people in Los Angeles. I am absolutely amazed at the vibe in this room. Everyone here is not only standing against injustice, but creating something new, sustainable, and meaningful. This has lifted my spirits 1,000,000%. Thank you. So I think that's from an anonymous attendee. Thank you very much for the comment. We do have another question from Daniel Park. Daniel Park asks to John and Henriette, any thoughts or words of advice, wisdom to share with us regarding working in art and culture, community, activism over the years?
Well, John.
Well, I think first of all, I want to acknowledge Anonymous, who doesn't want to be acknowledged, I guess. But anyway, I think Anonymous, you lifted our spirits because there are certain frustrations, as we've seen. We didn't get Brother Lee on here, and we didn't get to see Stephanie's fabulous outfit. There were a lot of things that we wished that we were hoping to be in the presence of, but I think one thing I'd have, Skid Row is an amazing community. As I said earlier, it wouldn't even it would have been gone. It would have been high-rise. It would have been disappeared 50, 60 years ago and up until this moment if it hadn't been for people coming together with smarts and as Henriette said, do-it-yourself initiative to bend the course of history, and that's really what happened, And so there is a place, as Gary said, where there's more spirit, more compassion, more person-to-person personability than in most places, and it's it is sustaining to everybody sustains one another, and the people coming up sustain the people that have been around, and it's very it's very circular. So thank you, Danny, for the question, and thank you, Moore, for being here.
We have a note in the chat room coming from Studio RD Solutions, basically asking for the link to the fundraiser that was mentioned by Henriette into the chat box for those who want to donate. And so I think Hike went ahead and provided that. Clancy provided that as well.
Yeah, and I just want to say, because it was very nice of Coach Ron to ask how he can support Skid Row artists, but I just want to mention that Coach Ron is a Skid Row artist himself, and he is out there every day cleaning toilets and filling hand wash stations and feeding people every weekend in Gladys Park. He's just an amazing person, and he can use some donations himself. And we will provide a link, because if you want to support Coach Ron, that would make me very happy, and I'm sure all of Skid Row. Yeah. Now I have to find it. Coach Ron, can you type it in, please, in the link, how they reach you?
Oh, that's a really, really good idea.
Yeah.
Well, going once, going twice. Sold. I guess we should just thank everybody for being here, and thank you, Rob, again for making this this website, which is a huge resource for the neighborhood, and I'm sure it's going to be. It's also Rob made it so it's on computers, but it's also on phones. You can access the whole thing on your phone. So So I think it's going to be, it can be widely viewed everywhere in the world and especially in the neighborhood. And, thanks again, Rob, for putting in all this huge amount of effort and brilliance to make it happen.
And we should thank Clancy too, because without Clancy, it also wouldn't have gotten done, because there was a lot of work also behind the scenes.
And that's why you can't see Clancy, because
she's behind the scenes. Yeah, I want to give a shout out to her and to all the LAPDers, because really it hasn't been easy to put these Zoom performances together. And they have been, getting together 3 times a week and even more these past weeks to record it. And there's Lorraine's dog barking into Zoom. And so thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for coming and join us on the Zoom. It's a weird thing that I can't see you, but we really appreciate us all being together.
Yeah, and again, thanks to all the honorees who are doing amazing stuff that's inspiring everybody.
Yeah.
Much love to all the honorees and panelists, and especially to John and Henrietta, our fearless leaders, for taking us this far and into the future that's unknown but going to be spectacular. Thank you, guys. I love you so much.
And shout out to Henriette, who has become the queen of editing.
Oh my God. I hope so. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Floating in such sweet sorrow.